When we understand the divine law of prosperity, we cease to chase money and instead allow money to chase us. Money is not merely paper or coins, it is an expression of the boundless substance of the universe, an obedient servant responding to our words, beliefs, and expectations. Many souls experience blocked finances not because supply has vanished, but because fear, doubt, resentment, or old beliefs have formed invisible walls, interrupting the divine circulation of wealth. It is never the world outside that limits us, only the world within. Divine supply is always present, as constant as the air we breathe. The same infinite intelligence that hung the stars in perfect order desires for us to live in ease, security, and joyful abundance. Lack is not a condition ordained by spirit, but a byproduct of false thoughts repeated so often that the mind accepts them as truth. When one believes money is hard to get, money responds by staying away. When one feels unworthy of success, success simply passes by. But when one speaks the language of faith, wealth begins to flow with effortless grace. The spoken word is a mighty force. What we decree with feeling becomes our lived experience. Every prayer of faith is a key that unlocks doors we once believed sealed shut. Prayer aligns us with the wealth that is already ours by divine right. We do not beg for supply. We claim it, command it, and joyfully expect it to manifest. When we declare abundance with conviction, the universe rearranges itself to fulfill our command. Sometimes, money is blocked because the heart is holding on to old grievances. Resentment ties us to the very conditions we want to escape. Forgiveness dissolves every obstruction and clears the path for prosperity to rush in. Gratitude further speeds the good to us, for the thankful heart magnetizes more to be thankful for. As we release fear and embrace trust, we become tuned like a perfect instrument, able to receive every note of good destined for us. There are divine channels through which supply can come, channels we cannot always predict. Yet we must never limit how or through whom our good arrives. The universe has 1,000 avenues to bless us. Our part is to speak prosperity, think prosperity, and expect prosperity. Prayer is our affirmation that wealth is already moving toward us, seen or unseen. Within these prayers lies a transformation of thought, of belief, of relationship to abundance. Each prayer is a spiritual tool that loosens the tightly held knots around finances. They call forth opportunities, divine ideas, unexpected income, and perfect timing. They restore the natural flow of money, just as clearing a riverbank allows water to run freely again. As we embody faith, every blocked blessing is released, the doors of wealth swing wide open. Money becomes a joyful companion, always returning, always replenishing, always responding to our fearless trust. In the infinite, money responds to faith, not fear. This is a spiritual principle that governs all forms of supply. Faith is the magnet, the unseen power that draws abundance from the invisible into manifestation. Fear, on the other hand, repels good and creates barriers in consciousness that block financial flow. When we believe that money is scarce, when we worry about how bills will be paid, when we doubt that we are supported by a loving universe, we unknowingly command lack to take root. Our inner world becomes the architect of our outer experience, and the financial struggles we face are reflections of the beliefs living quietly within us. Faith is certainty in the invisible source. It sees beyond appearances and knows that supply is not dependent on a job, a bank account, or economic conditions. These are merely channels, not the source itself. When one places faith in channels, fear easily enters the mind. A job can be lost, a market can shift, a circumstance can change. But the divine supply behind all channels is eternal, inexhaustible, and always working for our good. When faith is placed in spirit rather than circumstances, money begins to obey that faith, appearing through both expected and unexpected paths. Many people unknowingly worship fear. They rehearse anxieties, speak words of worry, and imagine worst-case scenarios. Their minds become factories producing endless thoughts of survival and desperation, and those thoughts manifest as the very hardships they dread. Fear is creative energy misdirected. It gives power to lack and invites financial struggle into the home, into business, into every endeavor. The more time spent fearing debt, the more debt multiplies. The more one frets over not having enough, the more evidence of not enough materializes. Money cannot flow into a consciousness blocked by fear. Faith, however, creates open channels. Faith says, I am divinely provided for, and money rushes to fulfill that decree. Faith affirms, my supply is unlimited and always meets me here and now, and new doors swing open. Faith sees opportunity in every direction. It is bold, confident, serene. It has no interest in how or when the good will arrive because it knows the supply is already secure. Faith places its trust in universal law, and law must obey. Just as a seed naturally becomes a harvest when planted in fertile soil, a thought planted in faith must produce blessings. Fear is rooted in the illusion that we are separate from the infinite. It whispers lies such as, you must struggle, or there isn't enough for everyone. These beliefs shrink our capacity to receive. They cause us to hold tightly to what we have, turning hands that should remain open into clenched fists. When we clutch at money, we stop its circulation. But faith understands that the universe operates through flow. It gives, receives, and gives again. Those who trust abundance give freely, knowing that whatever leaves their hands returns multiplied. Faith keeps money moving like a river, always returning with greater force. Words are the vehicles of faith. What we speak reveals what we truly believe. A person who declares, I never have enough, is placing strong faith in lack, and the law responds obediently. A person who says money comes to me easily and continuously plants seeds of prosperity. Faith-filled words hold life and energy that transform circumstances. They reshape the unseen and cause new forms of supply to manifest. The tongue can unlock wealth or block it completely. Each statement becomes a decree that the universe fulfills. Faith is not pretending, it is knowing. It does not overlook obstacles, it overrides them. Even when appearances show emptiness, faith perceives the fullness behind the curtain of form. It is the inner assurance that something wonderful is happening, even if there is no visible evidence yet. Faith is a spiritual eye that sees the harvest long before the seed breaks the soil. It is confidence rooted in divine promise, rather than temporary appearance. When faith is strong, fear has no soil to grow in. People often ask for financial miracles while continuing to hold fearful thoughts. They pray for abundance while speaking of shortages. They desire wealth but believe deep down that they do not deserve it. The subconscious mind listens not to wishful thinking but to conviction. Whatever emotion carries the strongest weight becomes the command. If fear is stronger than faith, fear wins. Therefore, the work is not outside but within, to cultivate unshakable trust in the generosity of the divine. Faith does not operate only when circumstances look good. It shines brightest when everything appears dark. When bills stack high, when income slows, when opportunities seem scarce, that is the moment to declare boldly, my good comes now. Nothing is too difficult for the infinite. I am sustained by divine supply. These words, spoken with authority, dismantle the invisible walls created by fear. Faith injects life into every stagnant situation, reviving dormant channels of prosperity and attracting new paths of success. We must learn to withdraw attention from fear immediately. The moment worry tries to speak, it must be replaced with a statement of truth. There is no lack in God, and there is no lack in me. Repetition of truth reshapes the subconscious mind, clearing away fear's residue. Just as we strengthen muscles through consistent exercise, we strengthen faith through consistent declaration and expectation. Over time, fear loses its influence, and faith becomes the natural posture of the soul. Living by faith means believing we are worthy of wealth. Many have unknowingly rejected prosperity because they feel guilt or shame around money. They have absorbed beliefs that wealth is selfish, greedy, or spiritual only in moderation. These ideas separate us from our divine inheritance. The infinite desires that we live in comfort, joy, and expansion. Wealth is simply a tool that allows us to share, to grow, to uplift. Faith embraces abundance without apology, knowing that the more we receive, the more we can bless others. Faith and imagination work together. When we visualize success, abundance, and financial ease, we send a clear signal to the universe about what we are ready to receive. Imagination forms the blueprint, and faith energizes it. Fear imagines disaster. Faith imagines fulfillment. Whatever we continually picture becomes a magnetic force in the invisible realm. To cultivate prosperity, one must build a mental picture of financial freedom and dwell in it as if it were already reality. Every financial breakthrough begins with a shift in consciousness. When fear dissolves, money no longer feels distant or elusive. It becomes a natural companion, flowing towards us because it recognizes a receptive, confident, and expectant mind. Faith is the invitation that calls prosperity home. Divine supply is always present and unlimited. The universe is an endless reservoir of substance, forever pouring forth good into every receptive mind and open heart. We do not live in a world of limited resources, we live in a world of limited beliefs. The same infinite intelligence that maintains the oceans, feeds the birds of the air, and adorns the fields with thousands of flowers, has already prepared every form of provision required for our well-being. Wealth is not something to chase or plead for, but something to recognize as eternally flowing in our direction. There is no true lack in the divine plan. What appears as shortage in human experience is not evidence of limited supply, but evidence of disconnected consciousness. When the mind entertains ideas of restriction, the flow of abundance becomes clogged, much like a river obstructed by fallen debris. Yet the water still exists in abundance, pressing behind the block, waiting to surge forward once the barrier is removed. So too does divine supply press lovingly against every wall of doubt, ready to pour into our lives the moment we make room for it through faith and expectation. Supply is not earned, it is claimed. It belongs to us by our very existence, for we are children of the infinite source. Just as the sun does not choose who is worthy of its light, divine supply does not measure who deserves abundance more. It flows according to spiritual law, responding only to consciousness. Those who believe in scarcity receive scarcity. Those who believe in endless good receive endless good. We are never deprived by spirit, only by our own acceptance of less than what is available. Every need we have has already been answered before the need even arises. This is the quiet mystery of the universe. The solution is created before the problem reaches us. The supply is prepared before the desire is born. A desire for more is a divine indicator that more is ready to be received. When one longs for financial freedom, for debt to dissolve, for opportunities to expand, that longing is not an illusion. It is the soul's recognition of a supply waiting just beyond the doorway of belief. We expand or restrict this supply with our thoughts. A consciousness filled with worry or resentment contracts, shutting the gates to good. But a consciousness filled with confidence and gratitude expands, creating wide-open channels through which abundance can flow. Every grateful thought says to the universe, I recognize my blessings and I am ready for more. Gratitude is a spiritual magnet, pulling greater and greater good into material form. The joyful receiver becomes the joyful attractor. Divine supply expresses itself through infinite channels. A job, a business, a client, an idea. These are only the visible paths. The moment we label one particular source as our lifeline, we unknowingly limit the universe. But when we release attachment to specific avenues, the supply becomes free to approach us in ways we could not have imagined. Money may come through unexpected gifts, unexpected opportunities, or unexpected guidance to take inspired action. The invisible is always arranging visible blessings, shaping circumstances on our behalf. We must train the mind to focus on plenty, not on absence. Whatever we dwell upon in thought, we invite into form. When we look at the world and see abundance, homes, prosperity, commerce, creativity, we align with that energy. When we look and see only limitation, We reinforce a belief that there is not enough. The world becomes a mirror reflecting back what we assume to be true. Therefore, to transform financial conditions, we must first transform inner perception. Divine supply cannot diminish. If every person alive suddenly stepped into great wealth, the universal storehouse would remain full. It is spiritual substance, limitless, expanding, and self-renewing. When we give, we do not reduce our supply. We activate the circulation that ensures more returns to us. Money is happiest when it moves, just as energy is happiest when it flows. Hoarding out of fear stops circulation and signals lack consciousness. Giving with joy signals abundance, consciousness, and invites wealth to move toward us again. The moment we trust divine supply fully, fear melts like ice in the warmth of the sun. Anxiety over bills, rent, or future stability loses its power. We recognize that we are supported by a source that never falters. How different life becomes when we understand that nothing can separate us from the good that is ours by divine law. Not age, not economic climate, not past mistakes, not missed opportunities. Every moment holds fresh potential for increase. In truth, we are stewards of prosperity, not beggars seeking crumbs. The universe asks only that we think in harmony with its laws. If we think constrictively, supply constricts. If we think expansively, supply expands. The world of spirit responds to the expectation we maintain. A mind that anticipates miracles will find them. A mind that anticipates disappointment will experience it. Divine supply is impartial, obedient, and immediate to belief. We must begin each day with a deep inner knowing that life supports us financially in every way, that every need is met before it is spoken, that opportunities seek us out, that money comes in right ways, through right action, and right timing. When we hold this certainty, we walk through life with ease instead of fear. We become receptive to guidance, nudges, ideas, and intuition that lead us to our supply. Divine direction always accompanies divine provision. Every financial challenge is a call to expand our trust, not retreat into worry. When something appears to be taken away, often something greater is making space to arrive. When one door closes, it is not a punishment. It is a redirection toward a larger door. The universe is never subtracting from us, it is always increasing us, even if the increase is not immediately visible. We align with infinite supply by remembering where true wealth originates. It does not come from people, institutions, or circumstances. These are channels only. Our source is the limitless spirit, the creator of all channels. When one channel dries up, another appears. The river of supply never stops flowing, because the source never sleeps, never weakens, never withdraws its support. The moment we internalize this truth, we are free from the illusion of dependence on anything external. To claim unlimited supply, we must release the old stories of struggle and scarcity. Many inherited beliefs about money must be dissolved. Beliefs taught by society, family, or a world that fears not having enough. These beliefs served us once as protection, but now they act as chains. The universe invites us to drop them and step into a new identity, one who is worthy of abundance, capable of abundance, and connected eternally to abundance. The mind that accepts this becomes a powerful magnet for prosperity. The heart that trusts this begins to radiate calm assurance. Life responds by shifting, rearranging, and unfolding in abundance. Divine supply is always present and unlimited. The universe is an endless reservoir of substance, a ceaseless current of life and provision, flowing through every corner of existence. Nothing can exhaust it, and nothing can diminish it. All good already exists in the invisible realm of spirit, waiting to take form through our faith and recognition. When we say there is lack, we only describe the condition of our own thought, for lack is not a spiritual fact, but a human illusion born of fear and false perception. The same infinite intelligence that provides the air we breathe and the light of the sun provides every material and spiritual resource we could ever need. The supply is not something to earn, struggle for, or chase. It is something to align with, to accept as our divine birthright. The substance of supply is spiritual, not material. Everything we can touch, hold, or spend is but a manifestation of invisible energy translated through form. This invisible energy is inexhaustible. It flows wherever consciousness allows it. When the mind believes in limitation, the flow narrows. When the mind believes in plenty, the flow widens. What we call wealth or poverty is nothing more than the outward reflection of this inner circulation. The key is not to demand that supply appear, but to remove every barrier of disbelief that prevents its appearance. When we align our thoughts with abundance, we tune ourselves to the rhythm of the infinite, and all that we require begins to move toward us naturally. Divine supply cannot be hoarded, for it exists only in circulation. Just as the heart must pump blood through the body for life to continue, we must allow giving and receiving to remain in motion. When fear stops the giving, fear also stops the receiving. The person who clings tightly to what they have because they fear loss cuts off the very channel through which new supply would arrive. Faith keeps the current open, allowing money, ideas, and opportunities to move freely through our lives. When we give joyfully, we declare to the universe that we trust its endless flow. That trust magnetizes even greater abundance. Every living thing operates under the same law of supply. The trees never fear a shortage of rain. The rivers do not wonder if they will run dry. The birds never question where their food will come from. They live in perfect trust of the divine rhythm that sustains them. Humanity, with its reasoning mind, often interrupts this rhythm with worry, doubt, and control. Yet the same principle that governs nature governs our finances. If we release anxiety and move in harmony with spiritual law, our needs are met in perfect time and order. Divine supply cannot fail, for it is sustained by divine intelligence, not by human effort alone. The channels of supply are infinite. A job, a business, a client, or a friend may serve as the visible form through which supply comes, but none of these are the source itself. The source is spirit, ever creative, ever resourceful, ever generous. When one channel closes, another opens. There can never be a shortage of ways for good to reach us. When we stop insisting that supply must come through a particular person or opportunity, we free the universe to surprise us with greater blessings. Our task is to stay receptive, to expect good from everywhere, and to let go of the narrow vision that limits our possibilities. Faith in divine supply transforms daily living. Instead of approaching life as a series of financial battles, we begin to see it as a cooperative dance with the infinite. Every bill that arrives is an opportunity to affirm divine substance pays this in full. Every unexpected expense is a reminder that there is more than enough circulating in the unseen. We replace worry with praise, anxiety with gratitude, and the whole tone of life lifts. This change in vibration alters the outer world, drawing to us experiences and opportunities that match our new frequency of trust and expectancy. We must remember that divine supply works through law, not chance. The law responds to belief, to the pictures we hold in mind and the feelings we nurture in the heart. When we imagine shortage, the law obediently shapes experiences of shortage. When we imagine plenty, the law faithfully produces abundance. It never judges. It only executes the design impressed upon it. Therefore, our work is to discipline the imagination and emotion so that they vibrate with ideas of fullness, sufficiency, and constant increase. Every thought of plenty strengthens the current. Every grateful word multiplies the good already at hand. Gratitude is the key that opens the floodgates of supply. When we give thanks for what we have, no matter how small, we affirm our faith in the continuous generosity of the universe. Gratitude dissolves feelings of lack and fear, lifting our consciousness to a plane where only abundance can exist. A thankful heart becomes magnetic, attracting all that corresponds to its vibration of joy. When we bless what we have, it multiplies. When we complain about what we lack, it withers. The law is simple and unfailing. There is no season for supply, no timing when spirit is more generous or less. The The divine storehouse is perpetually open, waiting on our recognition. We do not need to strive or beg for what is already ours. We need only accept it mentally and act as though it is already present. The act of faith precedes the appearance. When we step forward confidently, circumstances begin to rearrange themselves in our favor. People, ideas, and resources appear as if by miracle, but it is simply law fulfilling our inner pattern. Divine supply is impersonal. It does not favor one person over another. It moves where it is welcomed. Every person who understands and applies the law of abundance experiences its certainty. The farmer who plants seed knows that the soil will not decide to favor one seed and deny another. It will yield according to what is sown. So, too, will spirit yield to each mind according to what it sows in thought and emotion. This truth frees us from envy or comparison. There is no competition in divine substance, for everyone can have all they desire without diminishing another's portion. The belief in limited supply has caused much suffering and conflict in the world. People grasp, hoard, and fight because they fear there is not enough. But the enlightened soul knows there is infinite room for all to prosper. The universe is constantly expanding, generating new forms of wealth, new opportunities, new ideas. The creative power that birthed galaxies can surely supply rent, food, and comfort. The only requirement is alignment with the divine principle that abundance is everywhere present, awaiting recognition and expression through us. Forgiveness dissolves financial blockages. Many people look to the outer world for the cause of their money troubles, assuming that lack is created by the actions of others, by circumstances, or by systems beyond their control. Yet the deeper truth is that most blockages to supply are emotional and spiritual. When the heart holds resentment, anger, jealousy, or bitterness, the mind closes the door to abundance. These emotional knots restrict the flow of divine substance, preventing wealth from reaching us in its natural and rightful way. Every grudge is like a stone placed in the river of prosperity, causing the waters of good to slow or stop altogether. Not because supply has evaporated, but because consciousness has erected a barrier. Everything in the universe flows. Money is energy that seeks movement, exchange, and circulation. When we cling to old hurts or blame others for past disappointments, we trap energy in a stagnant place. Forgiveness is the sacred act that releases this trapped energy, clears the channels, and restores circulation. Many struggle financially because they have not released someone from their mental courtroom, a former partner, an employer, a friend, a business associate. They believe resentment protects them, but resentment only punishes the one who holds it. It keeps us chained to the past and blocks every blessing trying to reach us in the present. Forgiveness does not excuse harmful behavior, it liberates the forgiver. It cuts the invisible cords that tie us to the very situations we wish to escape. When we forgive, we reclaim our power. We consciously declare that no person or event can obstruct our good. Spirit is the source of our supply, not any human being. The moment we acknowledge this, financial freedom begins to unfold. The person who wronged us was merely a channel, not the origin of money or opportunity. When that channel closes, another can open instantly if the heart remains unburdened by resentment. Some people unconsciously believe they do not deserve wealth because they have not forgiven themselves. They carry guilt from past decisions, mistakes in spending, failed business ventures, debts, or times when they misused money. This self-judgment creates a belief that loss is deserved and abundance would be unfair. The universe reflects back whatever beliefs we hold as truth. Therefore, self-forgiveness is just as essential as forgiving others. To open the gates of prosperity, one must release the inner critic and embrace the truth that every moment is a fresh beginning. The infinite has no memory of error, only the potential for renewal. Forgiveness heals the mind, and a healed mind becomes receptive to inspiration and divine ideas. Prosperity often appears through new thoughts, creative insights, new directions, intuitive guidance. But when the mind is clouded by negative emotions, intuition becomes muffled. Worry and bitterness create static that blocks the messages meant to lead us to abundance. By forgiving, we quiet the noise and make room for wisdom to speak. The answer we seek may have been waiting patiently the whole time, unable to be heard through the storm of unresolved emotion. Financial blockages can also be tied to envy. When we look upon the success of others with jealousy, we push our own prosperity further away. Jealousy declares silently, supply is limited, and the universe responds by confirming that belief. But forgiveness of jealousy, replacing envy with celebration, aligns us with the truth that good is boundless and available to all. Every success we witness is proof that prosperity is circulating, that wealth is active and expanding. Blessing another's abundance invites that same energy to flow toward us. Forgiveness transforms comparison into inspiration. A mindful lifestyle integrates activation in. Some hold resentment toward money itself. They have been taught that money is the root of greed, corruption, or suffering, and this belief creates conflict. On one hand, they desire financial freedom. On the other, they judge the very thing they want. Such inner contradiction keeps wealth at a distance. Forgiveness toward money means releasing the belief that money is harmful and accepting it as a neutral tool that amplifies the intentions of the heart. In the hands of a loving person, money becomes a force of healing and blessing. By forgiving money and allowing a healthy relationship with it, we open the channel through which it can enter our lives with ease. Forgiveness also restores harmony in relationships, and relationships are often the blueprint for financial exchanges. Opportunities emerge through people, income grows through cooperation, blessings move through networks of connection. When relationships are strained by unspoken wounds or harsh judgments, bridges collapse. Forgiveness rebuilds these bridges or creates new ones entirely. As peace returns to our interactions, we attract supportive partnerships, helpful allies, and divine appointments that elevate our financial experience. The act of forgiveness requires faith. It asks us to trust that releasing the past will not leave us vulnerable but strengthened. It asks us to believe that letting go does not mean losing. It means making space for more. When we forgive, we align with the highest spiritual truth. Nothing real can be taken from us. The good that is ours can never be stolen, delayed, or destroyed. It may be temporarily diverted, but it will return through a different and better channel as soon as we withdraw emotional resistance. Forgiveness is not always instant. Sometimes hurt lingers, asking for repeated release. Each time we choose forgiveness, even if the feeling has not yet caught up, we weaken the chains that hold us. Eventually, the heart becomes light, and the flow of abundance returns with renewed strength. The process is sacred, and every step expands our capacity to receive. To forgive is to free oneself from mental poverty. It is to declare that love, not resentment, is the governing force of life. When love governs, prosperity cannot help but appear. Forgiveness invites miracles because it removes the walls that once shut miracles out. It sweeps the path clean for blessings that have been circling, waiting for the opportunity to enter. It restores harmony between the inner and outer worlds, making us receptive to every form of good that Spirit intends for us. The wealth we desire already exists in potential form. It waits patiently for a consciousness ready to receive it without obstruction, without fear, without bitterness. Forgiveness clears the path, opens the gates, softens the heart, and makes room for the divine flow of abundance to rush in once again. Expectancy magnetizes wealth. When we expect good things to happen, we become a beacon that attracts abundance from every direction. Expectancy is the active form of faith. It is faith with its sleeves rolled up, ready to receive. To expect is to know that something wonderful is already on its way, and that the universe is orchestrating every detail to bring it into form. This inner assurance sends a powerful signal into the unseen, calling forth opportunities, resources, ideas, and favorable circumstances. Expectancy is a magnet that draws prosperity with unwavering certainty. Many people believe in abundance on an intellectual level, yet continue to expect disappointment. They hope for financial improvement while silently anticipating something will go wrong. This split in consciousness prevents manifestation because the law responds to our dominant feeling, not our polite wishes. To attract wealth, expectation must be joyful and confident, free from doubt or fear. We cannot expect both failure and success and then wonder why supply seems confused. The universe is direct. It gives us what we truly expect. Expectation shapes our behavior. A person who expects increase walks differently, makes bolder choices, speaks with assurance, and is guided toward the right action. They step forward even if they cannot yet see the full path, because they trust that each step invites the next one to appear. When we expect abundance, we treat every moment as preparation for receiving it. We organize finances, make room for success, and align our thoughts with prosperity. The inner attitude activates the outer results. Expectation lifts our vision. Instead of noticing limitations, we begin to notice doors opening. Instead of focusing on what is missing, we focus on what is possible. This adjustment of perception is powerful because opportunities often exist right in front of us, unnoticed by those who expect lack. A person expecting good sees divine order even in temporary setbacks and refuses to interpret challenges as signs of failure. Expectancy looks through appearances and sees potential. There are those who live in fear of life, anticipating difficulty at every turn. Their minds rehearse worries before they even occur. And because expectation is creative, those worries form conditions that reflect those fears. The person who repeatedly says, "Knowing my luck, something bad will happen," has issued a decree, and the universe fulfills it faithfully. Expectation operates whether we use it wisely or unwisely. The same law that can bring wealth can also produce lack if negative expectations dominate. Therefore, our inner focus must be trained carefully. It must have training. Joyful expectancy is not mere optimism, it is spiritual authority. It is knowing that the universe delights in fulfilling our requests and that supply is constantly seeking expression. Expectation is the open door. Where there is no expectancy, blessings find no entry point. Hoping weakly keeps desires distant, but expecting firmly allows desires to step into physical reality. When we expect without hesitation, we communicate clearly. I am ready. My good comes now. Gratitude fuels expectancy. When we give thanks in advance for the wealth we know is coming, we align with the energetic frequency of receiving. Gratitude says, "It is already done in the invisible, and I await its arrival with joy." This attitude forms a channel through which abundance can flow without resistance. Complaints, however, signal a belief in delay or injustice and block circulation. Expectancy and gratitude together create a vibration so magnetic that supply rushes to meet it. Every invention, every fortune, every success story began with someone expecting something greater than what appeared. Expectation expands imagination, and imagination is the blueprint of manifestation. When we envision a life of prosperity and expect it to emerge, the subconscious mind begins to organize everything needed to build that life. People are drawn in, ideas awaken, timing becomes perfect, and the impossible becomes achievable. Expectation commands the unseen forces to rise and take form. The body responds to expectation as well. A person expecting good feels inspired, energized, and motivated. They take better care of themselves, understanding that they are preparing for a future filled with purpose. The mind becomes alert, receptive to hints and guidance that lead to financial advancement. Life feels lighter because expectancy carries the vibration of trust. Stress diminishes as faith increases. All of this contributes to creating ideal conditions for prosperity to unfold effortlessly. Expectation dissolves hesitation. Where there is expectancy, there is no room for the question, will it happen, but instead the certainty, how and when will it unfold. This subtle shift changes everything. The person who expects success never wonders whether they are worthy, for they know that abundance responds to alignment, not to self-doubt. They do not wait to feel ready. They trust themselves enough to act. Expectancy removes the paralysis of fear. The law of expectancy often works through intuition. When we expect increase, we pay attention to intuitive nudges. An idea to call someone, a feeling to start a project, a sudden inspiration that seems too perfect to ignore. These impulses are divine guidance showing us the path to our good. Expectation sharpens awareness, allowing us to recognize these signals instead of overlooking them as coincidence. When we follow intuition fueled by expectancy, we walk directly into the flow of abundance. Even when conditions appear stagnant, expectation keeps the heart open and receptive. Waiting becomes peaceful rather than anxious. Divine timing is never late. It unfolds at the exact moment that ensures lasting success. Expectancy trusts this timing and continues to hold the vision firmly, regardless of appearances. That faith is the anchor that keeps wealth on its path toward us. Expectancy also frees us from living in the past. Old disappointments lose their power because expectation is focused forward, not backward. We stop predicting future outcomes based on former limitations. New thoughts create new results. Every moment becomes a fresh opportunity for something wonderful to occur. Expectation rewrites destiny by rewriting belief. The more we expect abundance, the more abundance expects us in return. We build a relationship with prosperity, one based on familiarity rather than longing. Expectancy and wealth become companions, drawn together by the magnetic force of belief. Prosperity feels at home in a consciousness that sees it as natural. There is an atmosphere to expectancy, one of openness, enthusiasm, and readiness. It radiates outward and influences others. People feel drawn to support those who believe in their own success. Helpful relationships form, beneficial agreements appear, and financial blessings flow through human channels inspired by our confident energy. Expectancy is contagious, energizing our surroundings and inviting mutual upliftment. When we live in expectancy, we align with the truth that the universe is generous and ever-expanding. We realize that prosperity is not a rare occurrence, but a continuous flow that only requires our acceptance. Every desire for more is a signal that more is already on its way. Expectancy says yes to that signal. It says yes to the infinite. It says yes to receiving every blessing that has been waiting to reach us.